Here's the fact of the matter is, companies are making millions, if not billions, of black, brown, and poor white children. That's the fact. Most of the people who talk about the work haven't even done the damn work. Like, so for example, people are talking about chronic absenteeism now. There's organizations out there talking about systems and structures. They ain't never walked in near neighborhood that most of that they're talking about. They haven't done that, right? So what concentric is, it's a theory of change. Concentric is the company name for my theory of change. My theory of change is concentricity. So I'm plugging the second book right now. The second book that is called Concentricity. The first book is an academic book, and the second book is more practical, easier digestible. But concentricity is really my version of Afrocentricity. So when I went to Temple and I studied under Molefe Asante created Afrocentricity. Afrocentricity, simply put, is putting Africans and Africans of the diaspora at the center of social phenomena. How can we be subjects and not objects? So concentricity is putting students at the center of schools. It would sound simple and it sounds common sense, but we don't put students at the center of schools. What we do is we put adults in all this bureaucracy. So what we've done is said, okay, what is our approach? The approach is one door at a time. The reason it's one door at a time is because every single human is individual. What works for one doesn't work for works for somebody else. So our approach is one door at a time. So what I did was I took our guide right program, okay? I took the Q's program, I took the Alpha's program, I took the Sigma's program. I'll give a shout out to Iotas, even though, yeah, right? You know what I mean? No shade to my Iotas. And then even the sororities, Deltas with the Embody program and the Gen. And it's about how do I hire professional student advocates? They're professional, meaning they have degrees. They're about the students and they're about advocacy. And what they do is literally home visits, mentoring, and tutoring. And that's how we've knocked on 500,000 doors. In 16 years, I've knocked on Concentric and my staff. We have knocked on 500, that's 500,000 doors across this country. Asking one simple question: how can we be supported? That's it. Not agents, not officers. That stuff don't work. How can we be supported? That's what Concentric does and been doing for 60 years.
And what are the services that you provide? Because as you know, and the only way you've been able to grow in the education world, and academics are huge on this, it's all about data and results. Though oftentimes the data that they trumpet don't mirror the results that impact kids that in your world that you're concerned about. So how are you able to maintain the purity of the vision and also speak the language, the data language, in a way where academics say, oh yeah, this works?
Oh yeah, no, great point, because we had particularly a lot of community-based organizations, quite frankly, African-American organizations. You need your data, right? And for the most part, this is going to be a blanket statement, but it just has been my experience. Europeans only look at data, or Eurocentric views only look at data in a quantitative way. And you know that data is qualitative and quantitative, right? So our approach is ethnographic study. So how do you merge the immersion of the qualitative, the narrative, the story, with the quantitative outcomes that are needed, particularly for funding purposes or whatever the case may be? So what we did was we knew that we had one primary service, and we call it R1, which are home visits. So I know, Kevin, when you were growing up, hell, when I was growing up, when teachers lived in the communities in which they taught, if the student didn't come to school, you lived right next to the kid and you just knocked on the door. Post integration, that didn't happen, or post deseg, that we moved out, whatever the case would be. The home visit for us is breaking down barriers through authenticity and transparency to have a human connection, not to punish but to understand. And so the home visit then was, what are the barriers? What are the barriers that you're experiencing? Why are you disengaged? Very few students that we have visited don't come just for the sake of not coming. There's some barriers that have to be mitigated. So then what we were doing is we wanted to train people how to do home visits. But we could not get a critical mass in schools to do that on a consistent basis. I'm not talking about now, man, when it's nice outside. I'm talking about when you're up north or in Detroit and it's 0 degrees with 6 inches of snow, or it's raining, or whatever the case may be, or you have competing priorities. We were collecting that data of the barriers, and when we brought it back to the schools, they didn't have the capacity to do much with it. So that's when we took people that looked like you and me, who had the lived experience, and we hired from HBCUs, and I took from fraternities and sororities, and I put people in schools that could have a relationship with students. So then we start doing mentoring. But mentoring wasn't enough, right? And advocacy. So then when we came out of the pandemic, our PSA started tutoring. So now people just want to put, there's a space for online presence, because some people, like my daughter, my oldest daughter, she responded to online tutoring and online instruction, but my son did not, right? My middle-aged son did not. There's a necessity for both approaches. And so our in-person connectivity with people who had shared experience and had the hard skill set is how we went from home visits and mentoring to tutoring. And now, like you said, we're in 20 states. And then that's where we got the funding, the Series A funding. And you know this much better than me. I didn't know what the hell I was even talking about when VC funding came, because black companies don't get VC funding.
No, it's pretty phenomenal. Thanks for listening to What I Want to Know. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app, so you can explore other episodes and dive into our discussions on the future of education. And write a review of the show. I also encourage you to join the conversation and let me know what you want to know using hashtag WIWTK on social media. That's hashtag WIWTK. For more information on Stride and online education, visit stridelearning.com. I'm your host, Kevin P. Chavous. Thank you for joining What I Want to Know.